What's up, guys? How are you?
Yeah. So,
good.
Xzibit, obviously, multifaceted entertainer, rapper, producer, businessman, owner. I mean, family guy. I mean, just a very amazing person. Like I said, it's an honor. And also, side note, most recognizable person other than the Pope at a certain time.
Yeah.
Tell us about that. Like, how did that happen?
Well, that jumps forward in the story quite a bit. When I started doing television,
Yeah.
the first show I did was Pimp My Ride. Pimp My Ride became a global phenomenon, and I had no idea it was gonna. I really did the show because I thought MTV was gonna play my music videos. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Which didn't really happen that way. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But I did it, and it became something that people were attracted to. Other than my music, they were vibing with my personality. You know what I'm saying? And my personality on the show was not made up. That's how I deal with my family at like Thanksgiving. You know what I'm saying? Like I joke at the table, make fun of everybody, make fun of myself, and that's just how we do it. So I was able to do that on TV, and that transcended past anything I had done in music, because now soccer moms and and like suburban households were being exposed to something that they could enjoy that didn't have anything to do with the music I made. So that's how that happened.
Yeah, I know that's further on in the story, but just going all the way back to, I mean, obviously we don't want to go to the beginning of time, but I do want to get to the point where things started to change up for you or whatnot. So you grew up in Detroit for a little bit, and then you moved to New Mexico, Albuquerque. And what was like the turning point as far as like with your life where you felt like, all right, I think I want to start pursuing a career in rap?
Well, I mean, I had, the turning point in my life was my mother passing. My mother passed when I was like 9. And when I was in Detroit at the time, so my dad got remarried, and we moved out to Albuquerque because that's where his new wife wanted to live. And in Albuquerque, it was like really difficult for me to come and blend in. Weren't many black families there. And so what I had to do was kind of make an adjustment, not only for my mother passing, but being in a total different state, like that was totally different than Detroit. Detroit is like a urban fucking city, buildings, freeways, like you name it. But when I got to New Mexico, it was a total culture shock, and so there I started really getting angry. And so I was angry that my mother had passed. I was angry at everything. You know what I'm saying? The kids were fucking, horrible and all this extra shit. It was just different, And my parents were very religious too. On top of that, I was raised as a Jehovah's Witness, and so I'm rebelling against all these things, right? I'm kicking, I'm screaming. You know what I'm saying? I spent 2 years in juvenile detention. I was just really all over the place, right? It wasn't until I found hip hop where I found a place that I could excel, that I could kick and scream and not do harm to myself or others, right? It was a place for me to vent my frustrations and be as angry as I wanted to be without destroying everything and anyone around me, including myself.
Got that. Okay, yeah. And as far as being able to harness that, I think of like the X-Men. You know what I mean? It's like there had to be, obviously as we move forward into like your career and your path and things, how were you able to get to a point where you were able to kind of you moved to California at the age of 18, right?
17, 18, yeah.
17,
Yep.
18.
I came in 92 right after the riots.
Yeah. Oh,
yeah.
wow.
Yeah, like I missed something. I was like, y'all done? I missed it. You know what I'm saying? Like, it was crazy, yeah.
Yeah, but also, even with that emotion, you come into this area and this time where there's a conflict in America, right? Mm-hmm. Like, as you said, like, Watts riots are happening. And so
it wasn't the Watts riots.
I'm sorry.
It was just the LA riots.
Yeah,
the
LA
92 riots, yeah.
But just coming into this space, at 18 years old, what you came out here with $3,000 and an AK-47, I read, right?
Pretty much, yeah. That sounds about
So what
accurate,
were you
yeah.
planning on doing when you got out here, though? Like, you know,
It was pretty clear. Nigga, I'm gonna come up or niggas getting shot. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. No. The reason I had that, all jokes aside, I was selling crack in Albuquerque, straight up. I was just in the streets. I was just hustling, and at the time, New Jack City was out. Like everybody was like, it was like, remember when we was kids, you watch a Bruce Lee movie and then all of a sudden you go outside and think you know karate. You know what I'm saying? Like we were really like trying to live that. Even though we were in a small community, the cops knew exactly who we were. And so when it was time for me to leave, there was a lot of shit going on there. It's as small as Albuquerque is. I got a lot of friends. I got a lot of loved ones that's still there, right? And I'm still friends with kids I was with in high school. You know what I'm saying? But in there, their small town mentality, people will do it to you faster than you would think, right? So there was bullets flying, there was cops involved, there was no way for me to see a future there. I'd just been in jail for 2 years. I went to my dad and I was like, listen, if I stay here, I'm gonna die. You know what I'm saying? So I want to leave, and he agreed with me. So we went to this gas station. This is before smartphones, right? So we went to a gas station and we got a map, and the map was like we folded it and found the 40. The 40 brings you all the way to California from Albuquerque. So I was on a 40 freeway, highlighted it. You know what I'm saying? I had $3,000. I had a black and purple Geo Tracker. I don't know if you guys remember what those are, but it's like a fucking Suzuki like mini truck kind of thing, right? And so I had that. I had a cooler of some Snapples, and I had a DJ Polo Cool G Rap CD, and the AK-47 and some cross color clothes. Let's not leave that at the time. Yeah, I was doing a running man like a motherfucker back then. Yeah. So I get all this stuff, and I come to California, and you know I had always been rapping because you know like I wasn't rapping the way like people do with albums. I was just running off like 40, 50 bar raps. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. No structure, no nothing. It's just how I was like doing. I was like in a spot. I'd be rapping to the crackheads. They'd be like, "Oh, this is good." You know what I'm saying? Like, you know. And then it was like you know like my friends would be irritated with me because I would be rapping and they'd be like, "Man, shut the fuck up." You know what I'm saying? Like, shut up. And so I never took it serious. And when I got to California, it was because I met a gentleman named Jay Johnson. Jay Johnson was, you know, he was coming to get, because his brother, he lived in California, but his brother lived in Albuquerque. So he would come visit him like on the summer times and shit. So we met there, and he gave me a piece of paper, and it had a pager number on it, because back in the day, we were using pagers, all right? So he said, if you're ever in California, hit me up. You come stay with me. It's all good. I got my own spot. It's all love, right? Yeah. And so when I got here, I pulled out that number and I paged them. And the first day, I drove all the way to Venice Beach. Now, when you come to California from somewhere else, it smells different. The air is clean. It's a different type of feel. You just you hear the ocean, you hear all these things and see the streets are so clean. There's no sand. There's no cactuses. You know what I'm saying? There's no fucking roadrunners and coyotes and shit. You know what I'm saying? It's like coming from where I was from, right? And so, and it's not like Detroit either. This is my first time on the coast. So I went to, so I was just enjoying that part of it, right? And I got to this phone booth and I paged him. He didn't call me back. I paged him again, didn't call me back. So I spent my first night in California homeless on Venice Beach. And so I didn't mind because I got some pizza, slept in the truck, you know what I'm saying, got up, walked around. It's different back then. Venice was different back then, you know what I'm saying? Remember the nigga with the one finger and he used to be out here on his arm? Yeah. I was enjoying all that, right? And so the next day, I'm next to the phone booth, window down, he rings me back, and then I go see him. And, of course, he lives with his parents. You know what I'm saying? So the nigga,
Man,
yeah.
yee.
So I pull up in front of the house thinking we about to get cracking, like, you know, menace to society, and this nigga, it's like full house. You know what I'm saying? So we get you know all that straightened out, and fast forward, I'm still friends with the Johnson family to this day, but they stayed in Duarte, California, so I had to drive out and meet them, and you know it was really like a real eye opening experience. Like, look, I don't have a plan B. I have to go from here forward. You know what I'm saying? So that's how it started.
Yeah, so I want to dig deeper into because you know I've you know watched a few interviews about like this time, but one thing that I kind of lose track of is you know I think about like Malcolm Gladwell's The Outliers, right? Have you ever read that book?
No.
It's a great book, but it just talks about pretty much a space and time where guys like Bill Joy or maybe even like you know, Steve Jobs, they curated and they found what they were doing along the way. 10,000 hours, that's where that comes from, right? So, you know, your transition when you moved to LA, literally within 2 years or a year, you get signed to a deal, right? So my curiosity goes to like, wait a minute. I mean, obviously your mother was a teacher as well. So, but there's something deeper in that story, in the sense that, you know, I do believe that every master, you know, gets to a place where, you know, that 10,000 hours might not be something where most people think, oh, I need to go home and just play my piano and stuff like that. But it's like when you're rapping to your friend and they're like, yo, we don't want to hear you rap anymore. You rapping to the crackheads and they like, yo, but like there had to be so much time because when I think about Xzibit, I think about like cadence, you know what I mean? Like your voice is so distinct, you know what I mean? So that's definitely something we got to talk about is obviously you were born with it, but you know how to balance your vocal. You know what I mean? As a rapper, I don't think there's too many people that know how to give, you know, this, you know, personality. And that's what we know you for. But other than that, also your intellect and your architecture when it comes to building rhymes. Like, you know, for me growing up in, you know, I grew up in the 90s, but watching through the 2000s is like West Coast, you know, we had a few guys that were very lyrical, but when you came on the scene, it was like, oh, shoot. Like, you know what I mean? To be honest with you, it was like, one, character was in there, and then also, two, intellect. You know what I mean? It was like, there's bars here. You know what I mean? It's not just, you know, what LA was known for was the bounce and moving and stuff like that. It was like there was an extra level, and then also the people that you work with. But going back to, you know, 18 to 19, getting that record deal, I mean, tell us about like that journey because now you're here in LA, you know, off of Venice, going to go chill with your homie. But then what happens in this time period?
Okay, so that was a heavy time period. You got to remember the climate of LA was, you know, it was a lot of hip hop groups. It was like the Far Side had their own group of their own genre, right? And then you had the Black Crows, which was offset of Freestyle Fellowship and also the Good Life. The Good Life was different than Unity. There was all these pockets of hip hop all around LA, and everybody. It was not just gangster rap. Gangster rap being the most popular. But it was also a little pot, and then up in the Bay Area, you had Souls of Mischief, you know, Hieroglyphics. So, you know what I'm saying? You had all of Oakland, what it was doing, you know, Too Short, E40, all that was popping back then, too. And so I was in the middle of all this, and it was like a very small group of battle rappers, and our home was the Wake Up Show. We would go to the Wake Up Show and just kill everyone. You know what I'm saying? That was our platform. There was no Snapchat, TikTok, Facebook, Instagram. There was none of that. It was like you show up, you do it live, and you better be good because we come in with no mistakes. You know, we battle each other in order to come get ready to battle everybody else. Yeah. So there was like MCs that, you know, were all huddling and we all kind of gravitated toward each other. But I got introduced out of that circle into this group called 360, which is a production team that was out of Pasadena. A gentleman named James Broadway was the actual producer, right? And so he was producing groups like Madcap. Madcap was the first artist, the first group on Loud. And then he was producing King T as well. That's how I met King T. King T was working on his own music. He had been signed to MCA Records, I believe, and it was his fourth album, and it was King T for Life. And I came into meeting them at this whole time. Alcoholics was popping. They had just got signed to Loud. They had just released 21 and Over. So it was like when I met the Alcoholics, I was like, "Oh shit!" You know what I'm saying? Like
How did you meet them though? Like,
yeah, no, it was just like production. Like they like studio times. Like we would come in and we'd be around and. And there was another guy that was like kind of around the same time as me. His name was Ollie Rock. And they paired us up to be a group called the Shady Bunch. I know. It was fucking horrible. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But it was how I cut my teeth. It's how I got started. And so, through meeting Broadway, I got introduced into how to structure a rap, how to write a hook, how to, like the beginning stages of all of that. Yeah. I didn't find my voice on how to regulate my voice till down the line. I just used to yell. If you listen to the first album back in the day, it was like I just had one speed. It was like fifth. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Like, you know what I'm saying? There was no 1, 2, 3, 4. It was all day. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. And that was because of the way that of the music that I had gravitated to at the time. Onyx was big, Redman was big. You know what I'm saying? Like all of that, the DOS effects. You know what I'm saying? I had a little bit of all of them. You know what I'm saying? All in it. And so I had to learn how to find my voice. And during those times, that's when I kind of found it. That's when I started finding it. But when I was in fifth gear, it was just like that. There was something behind the music as well. And what was behind the music was not turning around and going back, never quitting. I could be told no. I could be, slammed the door in my face, but I'm not going back where I came from. So that was the underlying strength that separates everyone else from what I was doing.
Yeah. Do you feel like that coming from? I heard about this story about your dad making you move a pile of coal or some pile of something to one side. But to be honest with you, it's like discipline, right? Like, where do you learn that discipline in order to, because look, a lot of rappers at that time would have probably been super, let's just say, jealous at that point. Like, whoa, like, you went from 0 to 100, like as far as, but within that time, I'm talking about the 10,000 hour, like quote unquote rule. It's like like you said, you didn't turn back. Like this is like the backstory. It's like you just kept on going, and you paired yourself with people that were better than you. I can imagine, right? Like consistently.
Yeah, I just didn't know. Well, I mean, it was a pile of rocks. And it's funny. It's funny you bring that story up because it's important to what I'm about to say. Just to give you a high level view of it, I had gotten out of school, and I had, my father was in the military. He was a Marine, so he was very corporal punishment was not beyond him, right? And so I love my father dearly. We had our ups and downs, but here's what I learned from him. I didn't understand it at the time, but it helps me, to this day. So I got in trouble, and it was the last day of school, and he had plans for me for my entire summer. And what he meant by that was he got we had a huge like backyard in Albuquerque, and the man was vicious. All right, so so the last day of school, I got to stay in my room. I stay in my room, and the next morning, this dump truck pulls up into the backyard and dumps this big pile of rocks. I mean, I swear it was like almost to where the top of this thing is right here.
Oh no!
Right, this is gravel. We're talking about stones like about that big, right? And so he gives me a wheelbarrow and a shovel. And he says, you have to move this pile of rocks from here across the yard, and you put it here. It was about maybe 20, 35 steps, right? So I have this shovel, and I put the first one in, and I literally spent my whole summer moving this pile of rocks. So I don't know how he did it, But on the last day, I had gotten down to the last. Like he wasn't. It wasn't just leave every fucking stone had to be put over onto this pile of rocks. So after I did it, my hands were blistered. I had been baked, motherfuckers. I was tired. I was, saying he made me work from the sun when the sun came up till the sun went down. I had to move this pile of rocks. So at the end of that, it sounds harsh, but at the end of it, it was mental because he had a truck come back and pick all the stones up. He didn't even use them.
Wow.
He just picked them up. And then, because we had gotten past getting whoopings and all that shit, he had to do some work up here. And he said, so, we're going to have the same problems? Mm-mm.
Wow.
Mm-mm.
Wow.
So when I say that he built me he may not have been the Cosby, well, that's not a good reference anymore either. He might not have been the book, the textbook version of Wally Cleaver or fucking whatever, but what he had, he gave to me. And that was finding strength within and realizing that when people ask you to do something, you can choose to do it then, or you can wait till they force you to do it. So I've always been the one to take heed, pay attention to detail. You know what I'm saying? Like he gave me that. Wow. So when it comes to the way I do business, the way I see myself, the way I see others around me, right? It's really well thought out. Nothing I do is by chance. Everything has been thought about. Everything has been paid attention to, several times broken down before I take the first step. It has to be that way. Because when you do it right the first time, you don't have to go back and do it again. You know what I'm saying? And that's the way I structure everything I do.
That's a message right there, everybody. Moving forward, so as you meet King T and, you start, you do the ghetto freestyle.
Freestyle ghetto.
Freestyle ghetto.
Yeah,
oh, man,
yeah.
I'm backwards. Okay, so freestyle ghetto. You do that. Did you feel like when you did that record, like this record was going to go somewhere? I mean,
no. I had no idea.
Yeah.
I had no idea. And that just tells you how innocent and wet behind the ears I was. I had a buzz on the street, but I was just focused on beating rappers on the Wake Up Show. I didn't realize what it was. You don't realize what you're doing until you're doing it, right?
Yeah.
And so when I got to be on his record, I just thought I was doing another song because we did hundreds of songs, but that one song became a single. People put money behind it. Then it became valid, right?
Yeah.
So then I got approached by Steve Rifkin at Gland Slam. At the time, Gland Slam was Prince's nightclub downtown, and they allowed they was an alcoholic show. It was an alcoholic show, and Steve Rifkin comes right before we going out on stage, and he's like, "Hey, Xzibit, I want to sign you." I was like, "Well, all right. Well, I'm about to go perform, so." Fuck y'all. You know what I'm saying? Like, and so he was like, "Nah, man, just come by the office tomorrow." I was like, "All right, cool." So, it was just like that. I didn't make a demo. I never made a demo tape. Yeah. I never did none of that. Yeah. It was strictly off of the work that I had done from when I hit the ground until I got to where I was going.
Well, let's take a moment. Like, so right now, like, thinking about that when you were younger, that you got signed on the spot pretty much, right? That's what we call signed on the spot. You're going up on stage and Steve Rifkin comes out and says, "Yo, I want to sign you," right? That is a glorious moment for any artist that's ready to do that. But what do you think about that now? Like looking back at that time, and what I mean by that is like, what significance in your mind when you think about that time? What does it make you feel when you think about, man, like I was that young and it just happened like that? You know what I mean? Because you see people, you sign people, you know, you see like how things go in the industry and stuff like that. You know, looking back on that, I guess, like what do you feel now when you hear about, you know, the fact that that happened to you at such a young age, as well as fast as it did?
I mean, I feel blessed still. You know, nothing's perfect. Nothing happens the way you think it's going to happen. I look back now, would I have done things differently? Maybe. But they happened the way they did. And it got me to this place. So, you know, the music business is not what you think it is. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Just like any other business, right? So let me give you an example, right? Let me tell you how I got signed. Again, I was messing with James Broadway, and once he found out that Steve wanted to sign me, he signed me to a production deal.
Oh,
right?
shoot. Oh.
Production deal that King T was signed to.
Before Steve came in.
Well, when Steve said he wanted to sign me, then all of a sudden the contract starts flying.
Oh, shoot. Okay,
right?
Yeah.
Right? So the deal was for $150,000. That was what I got signed for, my first live record deal. My advance was 10% of that. So I got 15 grand. Yeah. Literally, Broadway and his like business partner were at the time. And check this out. The production company was called Jack Move Productions. So I should have known from the motherfucking beginning shit wasn't cool, right? So I ended up signing for 150. I got 15,000 advance. Literally, he told me to meet him at Barney's Beanery on Santa Monica, right? That's really an off-brand restaurant any fucking way. But we meet at Barney's Beanery. Hi, babe. We meet at Barney's Beanery, and he literally hands me $15,000 under the table in a brown paper bag. What? I didn't sign not one. I didn't sign nothing. I just get handed this paper bag underneath the table at Barney's Beanery. I don't fucking know how this works. You know what I'm saying? I don't know how this fucking works. I'm looking at the bag like, oh shit. I didn't have to shoot nothing. I didn't have to sell nothing. This is mine. Yeah. This is the first legit money I've ever made. Right? Wow. And so, turns out, fast forward, the production company gets caught for embezzlement out of King T's project. So everything's a wash. It's illegal, fucked up. So Loud Records didn't want to. They didn't want to redo the contract. So they just made me assume the responsibility of the production company. Now, one thing that people don't expect from us as artists is to be smart or read. Damn. Right? Yeah. Me, being the guy I am, you know, my mother was an English teacher. My father was a teacher. We naturally like to read shit. You know what I'm saying? So I read through my entire contract. And I was like, if I'm assuming the responsibilities of this production company, that means that I get 100% of my total record budget up front, not the $15,000 under the table. I get the whole thing, right? Yeah. And then I get, you know, certain, you know, parameters of things that have to happen at a certain time for the album to come out. And so my next album, I made them do it. And they was like, no, you got to sign the artist contract. You Xzibit, you can't tell. Yeah, no, I'm not signing anything else. I'm going to assume this production company contract the way you did it. And that's why I was able to move through Loud Records like I did. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Wow. They didn't like that. So my next album, I worked hard on it. That's why I was able to do that. You know, what you see is what you get. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Like that video, I was able to just get creative because I had all the shit. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? And so that was like the beginning of it, and they fought me tooth and nail in order to get that done.
Yeah.
But always know that, you know what I'm saying. Like, people are always going to tell you don't have options. You have options.
Yeah, that's big. I mean, for all you guys out there aspiring, like, that is the thing that just doesn't, like you said, most people are not looking and reading their contracts, so they don't really know what they're signing to. It's all about the hype. You know what I mean? It's like, oh man, like you the next and you got all these people in your ear that are telling you stuff, and the momentum is moving so fast. But I'm glad that you gave that tidbit of just about being, a businessman with your art.
You have to. Yeah. You have to. If listen, one thing that I regret, if I have any regrets about that time, it's just that everybody was under the assumption that if you had a manager, a record deal, an accountant, and a fancy car and a gold chain, you had the complete rapper kit. You know what I'm saying? Like you made it. You did it. It don't got to be right as long as you can show up with the shit. You did it. But that is something that's the carrot that they dangle to get the people that don't know better across the line. But those days have changed. We went through that. Now artists have a direct line with their audience. They don't have to go through a record company. They don't have to have a middleman. They have a direct line to their audience. It's how engaging can you be with this audience? You know what I'm saying? Without selling your soul. And that's the thing. Now, for us, selling out back in the day was like, nigga, if you do a commercial on TV, you selling out. Now, niggas want commercials on TV. Yeah. They want every kind of exposure they can get. Yeah. Because selling out now is different. Selling out now, to me, is people being on these social media platforms being someone that they are not. You know, what do the kids say? They doing it for the clout? You know what I'm saying? Like, that's what they're doing it for. But again, that's something very serious and very real, and people are losing their lives because of it. 100%. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. And I think that's a little more dangerous. They say things can grow, and the same thing that laugh and make you cry. Like, so now people are so desperate for attention. That is the new drug. Attention is the new drug. You don't even have to be good. As long as you got people's attention, you're good. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. But I think it's kind of convoluted what we take as art, and what we take as real musicians and people that really study their craft and really good at it. They take a back seat to the person that's fucking shoving fucking cucumbers next to cats and fucking making them jump. You know what I'm saying? Like it's weird. You know what I'm saying? It's weird. But I'm watching it and I see that even though things have gotten better for artists, it's also got a little more difficult for artists because now you have to stand out in an ocean full of bullshit. Yeah. It's no longer, blue ocean. It's more of a red ocean. You know what I mean? Bloody ocean for you guys that haven't not read that book. It's a great one. But going back into your story, so you do paparazzi, then after paparazzi, you do What You See Is What You Get, and you get the attention of Dr. Dre, right? No.
Oh, sorry.
No.
Okay.
No. I didn't get the attention of Dr. Dre until I did a single on Snoop Dogg's Top Dog album, which was called Bitch Please.
Okay, so that's when you got the attention. So correct. As soon as you get into that, like I can imagine, 2 years into your career, 3 years into your career at that point, you're meeting one of the greatest of all time. Let's just put it that way, Dr. Dre. You know what I mean? And then you're in a squad now, like with Snoop. You got M. You got all these people, that are profound and prolific. What was like your thought process when you first met Dre? Like, what was that like when you first met him?
Shit. I was nervous. All the preparation in the world will not take your nerves away. You know what I'm saying? Like when you sit in front of somebody like that, it's like the worst job interview ever. You know what I'm saying? And you sit and you just show up and you just don't know. And so I had to rely on the gift. I had to rely on I've been prepared for this my whole life, right? So another thing is that I was still willing, even though I had made a name for myself, I was still willing to listen. I was still willing to learn. I didn't go in there thinking like, yeah, man, I'm who I am. Man, you should fuck with me. You know what I'm saying? No, I was in there very humble. Still to this day, I carry myself like that because, if when you stop learning, you stop living. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So I have to continue to open, my mind to things that I may be closed off to, or hear a different definition of something I may feel like I already understand already. You always have that one, inch that you can learn more, and it may change the whole trajectory of what you understand.
Wow.
Right?
Wow. Yeah. No, that's it. And thinking about that time, you sometimes allude, your involvement with Dr. Dre and Snoop Dogg as like being a part of the Avengers, right? So, and I can imagine, being in the room with like Royce 5'9" and being in the room with like guys that, like AM and things like that, and being on records with them at this time or whatnot. So getting deeper into that, like, what can you give us like a story or like something that was like super significant to you? Because sometimes we just see like we hear the records, we're like, oh, that's crazy. But being in the studio at the same time where you're like, okay, there's several different processes that go through, that you have to go through to make a record go from 0 to 100. You know what I mean? Like sometimes people write, no lyrics. No, notes in the booth or anything. They just go straight into it. But what was a significant point during that time where you were like, whoa, this is like, this dude got magic powers. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I think, it goes back to the studio session for Bitch Please. Snoop called me and said that he wanted to do a song with me for this album. And so he said, yeah, go over to Echo Sound or somewhere. I think Echo Sound. Go over there. Dre got the beat. I was like, Dr. Dre? You know what I'm saying? Like, I hung up that phone and I think I might have I think I broke laws getting to that studio. You know what I'm saying? So I go in the studio and he's sitting at the board. And he's like, "Where? What you got? Hey, you got something for this?" He already had it ready. Just push play. I said, yeah. I sit down. I wrote that verse in 15 minutes, and then I spit it, and then I was like, "Thank you for the opportunity." I was out. He was like, "Nigga, what? Well, okay." So then I get a call from Snoop. He's like, "Nephew, that's the single, cuz." I was like, that's when I knew that, and that's the only time I knew that I could fan out and be like, oh shit, oh my God, this is great. Everybody's jumping up for joy. Woo, everybody, my whole team, my whole crew. Like, oh shit, this is it. Yeah. And so from there, it was like, I was so mad at Loud Records because they only let me do one video for 40 days or 40 nights. What you see is what you get. And then they said, no, we're not shooting no more. Go make another album. I was pissed because we had so much momentum and they just killed it. They don't, So I was already mad at them. So I wasn't even thinking about making another record. But this little spark turned into something bigger, way bigger than anything I had done, right? First time on MTV with Snoop, boom, that was a big fucking look, right? So because I didn't sit there and be like, hey, Dre, man, now that you did that, let me play you some of my shit. You know what I'm saying? You want to let me hear? I didn't even do that. I was thanking for the opportunity, and I left, right? Yeah. Some people overstay their welcome. Some people do too much. They trying to prove too much. Listen, you don't have to sell the truth. Like, people gonna come fuck with you, right? You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So when I did that record, Dre, it went out. It did well, really well for Snoop. Did really well for me. Did really well for everyone. So Dre was like, "Hey man, I'm working on this little album. Why don't you come, see if you want to fuck around with it?" The next song I did with him was "What's the Difference," right? Yeah. Featuring M. That went on his album, right? And then we did a couple more pieces. I started hanging around a little bit more in the studio. And so the album came out, and you don't know you're on a Dr. Dre record until the album comes out. Yeah. The man does like 15,000 songs, and you don't know which one's going to be on the album, right?
You still got records
you don't
there.
fucking know. Just because you did the song don't mean it's going to make it to the album, right? So we ended up being on the record, right? So then I get another call from Dre, and he's like, bro, that's like the way you carry yourself, the way you do all this. I've been around a lot of cats. I see the potential in you. And here's what I'd like you to do. Do you want to go on tour with me? This nigga be killing me with this, like asking me if I'm gonna say no. Like I'm gonna say, no. You know what, Dr. Dre? Yeah, I got this fucking shit. I can't make it. So he's asking me like, bro, would you want to go on tour with me? And I was like, yes, nigga. Like what? So he's like, do you want to be at the top of the show, or do you want to, like have your own set, or do you want to be on my set? Nigga, I want to be on your set. Like, what do you want me to do? What do you want me to carry the water? What the fuck do you want me to do? And then he was like, no, I want you to come out and do one of your songs. I want you to do Bitch Please, and I want you to do What's the Difference? Yes. Yes.
Count me in.
Yes, I'm there. And so that's actually how it went. And I tell this story in that manner to let you know that, sometimes when you're good at your craft and you go in and you just do just that, your inside studio activities are going to speak just as loud as your outside studio activities. If you go in there and and you can have all the talent in the world and you're a fucking absolute asshole, and you out here fucking all the shit up, and then you're more of a liability than you are an asset, right?
Yeah.
So I was never a liability to Dr. Dre, and I've always showed up and just did my job and went home. I don't want to get involved in all the extra shit and beefing with niggas and getting in they beef. And by the way, never beef with Long Beach. Never get into a Long Beach nigga beef. You know what I'm saying? Because they always going to make up, and you going to be the asshole that picked the wrong side. You know what I'm saying? Don't ever do that. You know what I'm saying? Just stay out. You know what I'm saying? Be like, if niggas is complaining, man, that's fucked up. That's it. Leave it there. Yeah.
So you become, to be honest, like I look at it in the sense of like Dre's like Swiss Army knife, right? Like the reason why I say that is because you're like one of the only artists that ever got tracks from him and you weren't signed to him,
right?
At the time, which is pretty crazy. I mean, even now for that to happen, you really got to be deep in there. You know what I mean?
Right.
And also just thinking about like how Dre really strategize and put you on records that really uplift the Chronic. You know what I mean? Like, to be honest with you, you listen to like, what's the difference? You listen to Bitch Please, you're like, yo, like these records are significant in that way. And then also putting you on the record with Eminem at the time, where Eminem is now this new force in hip hop, right? So at the time, like obviously white people weren't like something where it was like, oh shoot, like you had a few of them and stuff. But, the truth is like Eminem came in and just bodied everybody,
right.
And made it where it was like, okay, we need to pay attention as a hip hop community, and getting those cosigns or whatnot. You're at the, you're going to the Up in Smoke tour, and you're a part of this, amazing, experience. Tell us a little bit more about, the things that you learned during that time, going on tour. I'm sure even polishing up the way that you, stage presence. And is this when your voice starts to like, you start to control your voice a little bit more, and or like tell us a little bit more about that time? And
yeah, going to the Dr. Dre School of Recording, that's what we call it. You get to learn a lot about yourself and a lot about patience, because you may not hear it, but he hears it. And when you follow that direction and you follow where he's trying to go, you end up surprising yourself. So when I got to go through that recording process, I was able to, I was able to find where my register was. You know what I'm saying? Find pockets of calmness. Like he had to go and break down everything I want to do naturally and give it a filter. Like, bro, nope. Cause the way he records is, if he's like, say for instance, it's one line. Like he doesn't let you go in there and just spit the whole thing down the line. That's fucking, I don't give a fuck how dope you are. Stop. You know what I'm saying? Line one, we just doing this one line. I don't want you to say nothing after this. Don't try to think you feeling it and just keep going, because I'm going to stop you. Wow. Nigga, one line. We're going to work on this one line until I like it. So
frustrating at first. I just got to.
Oh, no. Here it is. Watch this shit. Watch this shit. This is how you get to stay a monk, or do you get kicked out of the school? You know what I'm saying? So this one line is going. You know what I'm saying? And you do the line. Nope, let's do it again. Talk back. Here come the beat. You doing it. You know what I'm saying? Here, we're going to do it again. Nope, doing it again. So I spent maybe 3 hours doing one line.
No.
And then when I finally did it, and I hear it back, now I hear what he's saying. Even though it's a small inflection, even though it may be something that, I would have not paid attention to, it gets you in a learning process of what he's looking for. Do you know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. So then that's how these records get made. And that's why all these records that he's done have a certain kind of staying power, because he's not only dealing with the frequencies, he's not only dealing with the timing, the cadence, but it all has to work as one. Wow. Right? Yeah. And so, that's why all of us have that same kind of work ethic when it comes to the way our sound is, the way everything complements each other. It's not by chance. You know what I'm saying? This is done with a method, with a focus, yeah. Right? And so once you go through that, now we're doing it live. And doing it live, it takes on a whole nother element that he's really good at. If you ever been to a Dr. Dre performance, he's only put out 2 albums as a solo artist. Only 2. And he has this many accolades, right? Yeah. So all the other music that he's produced, everyone has gone on to be megastars. Everyone, every single one. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. And so now we get into this place where now we get to see him put together his live show. And it's just as meticulous as when he's creating an album, wow. Right? Everything has to be right. Everything has to be right. And he's really hands-on. I remember as we were getting prepared for the Upper Smoke tour, we did the rehearsal, and then we were out, on the shows, and Dre started walking around with a little recorder, right? And he would record the conversations with the production crew because he was frustrated with them telling him one thing and then saying something else different later, right? Yeah. So he's like, "No, nigga, didn't you say this? No, nigga, that ain't the way you said." So he would stop. All that shit was out the window. No, I'm talking about down to the detail. Wow. But the result is something that we all could go home and hang our hat on. Yeah. Right? It was 30-some shows without a hitch, no problems, no cancellations. We crushed it. Still to this day, no other show has went out and had that much talent on it with no hiccups.
Let's go. Right? Yeah, no, 100%. Yeah. And so you do Restless, right? And so I want to ask you this question in a sense, like, so the record X comes out, right? Bum. I wish I could sing it all the way, yeah. Right? But at the very beginning, there's the tuning of the key of A, right? So I read somewhere where you used to play the violin.
Yes.
And so was that was that something like Dre just put that in there randomly? Because it seems like a lot of your records have like this symphonic, motif going out throughout a lot of them. Obviously, the West Coast sound with Dre, he's very, he picks out a lot of great string sections, but eerie things and that connection. But do you find any correlation from like?
Absolutely. When I first started, the first song that I ever recorded in the studio after being signed was Paparazzi. That was the first song I recorded. And Thayad made the beat. Actually, today is the 25th anniversary of my first album.
Let's give it up for that. Come on, let's go.
Yeah. And I wanted to do something different because you're right. At the time, there was so much like funk and G-funk going on in West Coast hip hop. Coming from the battle circle, I wanted to go totally left from what was happening in the scene to give myself a unique sound. Didn't want to sound like anyone else. So that's why Paparazzi had the violins. When I heard that, it was at the end of a beat tape that they made, and it was a mistake It was like something that he had just started messing with, and it was just like maybe 30 seconds of it. I was like, what is that? That's the loop I want. So we worked with that loop, and it had the big, like grand like orchestra to it. And all we did was just put some drums to it and just rap over the loop. And that's kind of been like that was going to be my sound, right? But now, of course, it advanced and it got modified, but that was definitely done on purpose. Yeah.
Was Scott Storch around during that time? As far as
Hell no, Scott Storch was with the Roots at the time.
yeah, but he did some.
He did X.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, he did X.
He did.
Yeah.
He did the piano.
Not paparazzi, but I'm talking about.
No, he did
yeah.
X.
Yeah.
Him and Dre did X. That was like the last song I recorded for Restless.
Yeah. So thinking about that, I mean, we know Scott Storch and like some of the sounds that he brings to the table, and that collaboration, still Dre, like with Scott Storch on those keys and stuff. But thinking about the Chronic and how pivotal, because thinking from a producer standpoint, we get into spaces and where it's like, okay, right now I'm changing the sound for this person that I'm working with, and then that kind of glides into something that we might be working on. So what I'm saying is the Chronic 2001, I definitely think had a lot of your influence on there, as far as even just the string section. I mean, obviously Drake did.
Hell no.
But no, but I'm saying.
No, I'm not taking no credit for none of that shit. Mark the record.
Yeah, no. Look,
Xzibit is not taking credit for none of that shit.
No, but what I'm saying is that Dre might have been very much like, wow, like, okay, this is the sound, right? So he thinks in forms of sound. So you fit that sound. So then it was just like an accent on that record.
Right.
You know what I mean?
I think, Dre is such a force when it comes to creativity. I don't think anyone else has his vision like he does. I was just glad that I fit into that vision at the time. Yeah. And I will do anything in my power to help that man create his vision, because it is monumental, the achievements that come from doing it correctly. Yeah. When you completely follow the direction that he's trying to build and you help him get that vision done, you sit back and you have no idea what was just created.
No,
you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
For real.
Okay.
For real. So yeah, I mean, like, I think my sound and trying to be unique is what really made him pay attention. And then again, my outside studio activities were just as good as my inside studio activities. And I didn't bring no bullshit with my talent. And so that ended up being a real positive, reinforcement for him actually fucking with me.
Yeah. Well, dope. Well, fast forwarding to kind of what you spoke about, like in this day and age, we got a lot of people that just want to be on commercials and, do all these things. But I want to talk a little briefly about Pimp My Ride and just what you mean to the culture in general. And what I mean by that is, growing up at that time, I felt like when I saw MTV Pimp My Ride, I was like, yo, wait, first off, I was like, yo, like Xzibit's doing, freaking Pimp My Ride. And it made me feel as a kid like, wow, I could do that. You know what I mean? I wish I could do that. Because at the time on MTV, you didn't really see too many, black, like you were the first of its kind, like one of the, and also your enthusiasm, like watching you, like how you went about it. It wasn't like you was on there just like quiet and just like, yeah, man, we about to pimp some people's ride. It was like, yo, like this, like I could relate to that in that sense. But being on the outside of that and looking back at that, you did Pimp My Ride, and was there any significance as far as like, sometimes they say like when you switch up your art a little bit, you learn some stuff to implement into your art. Was there anything that you learned from that experience as far as now being a personality and working on an album, or working on the albums after Pimp My Ride?
Pimp My Ride, again, like I said, I did the show because I thought it was going to make MTV play my music videos. And so when I first started the show, I quickly realized something, that it wasn't about me, it wasn't about the kid, it wasn't about the car. It was about wish fulfillment. It was about somebody at the house watching this show, looking at something that they may have and realizing that, you know, you don't have to have $1 billion to fucking have something nice, right? It was like, I could do that. You know what I'm saying? Even if I don't have Xzibit do it, like, here's something that I just see the potential in it. If I just put a little bit of something here, I have something, right? That's where the show started, wish fulfillment, right? You didn't know that watching it. First you thought it was about the car, and then it was about the fucking dumbass shit I said to the kid. Then it was like, you know, oh, like the kid may, you know, you may relate to the kid or whatever, but really it was about wish fulfillment. And that's what I learned. And I learned the power of television. The power of television and programming and how the world perceives you. You know what I'm saying? Because yes, you're right. On the show, I was enthusiastic. I was, you know, I got to do what I want on set. I'm smoking weed. I'm talking with the kid. You know what I'm saying? We about to go do this. I go home. It's good, right? But I think really what was shocking to me is that if you listen to my records, I'm not saying nice shit on my records. You know what I'm saying? I'm saying a bunch of fucking violent ass, you know, kick down the door, waving the 4-4, all that type of shit. You know what I'm saying? Like, my records are a reflection of my anger, right? So when I have the world coming up to me and saying, hey, Xzibit, hey, man, I fucking love you, bro. Pimp my ride. Oh, Xzibit! I'm like, nigga, if you don't fucking stop. Like, at first I didn't know how to take it. I took it as I didn't like it. I don't like this. I don't like it. You know what I'm saying? Like, motherfuckers is coming up to me like I'm friendly. And that's only for niggas at Thanksgiving, not for you niggas. You know what I'm saying? Like, I still want to be like, you ain't trying to box with me. You know what I'm saying? I'm still there. Yeah. So I didn't realize that it was a gift. And so I kind of looked at it differently in the beginning. Now, I look at it like, oh, I was the first. So again, like just in the beginning of my music career, I didn't know it was going to be this until it was. Yeah. Right? I just didn't know how to comprehend what was happening to me when, you know, I can go anywhere in the world and people are like, hey, pimp my ride. No, it's Xzibit. I remember my crew just was so adamant about it. They was mad too. They was like, fuck this shit. Fuck that show. Nigga, you got to get back on this gangster shit. Let's get on this shit. We got to go shoot somebody, nigga. I'm like, no, nigga, we're good. We're good. We don't have to do anything. Let's just relax and now fast forward, you know what I'm saying? Like, it was such a blessing, you know what I'm saying, to be, no matter how I felt about it at the time, or, you know, you may find interviews where I'm just like not having it. It depended on the day. Yeah. But eventually now I look back and I'd be like, yo, if you think about it, doing that show opened up doors where hip hop never would have. Exactly. Right? Yeah. And so doing that show, I was then accepted into Hollywood, and I was able to do blockbuster films, Gridiron Gang, X-Files 2, you know, movies with Ice Cube, Triple X 2, you know what I'm saying? Like real Hollywood productions. Yeah. You know, I just spent 3 years on a Fox TV show with Empire. Yeah. Like, it opened up doors where people saw me more than just, I was able to add a slash to my name. And when you have those slashes, you know, not just one, but be able to do other things. You know, I pride myself on being able to jump in other waters and swim. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, yeah, and I brought it up for as an affirmation in that sense that you did open up the door for, you know, these new, people coming out now, like 20, or, you know, whatever, 20 some odd years ago when you did that, you, unbeknownst to you, you know, but for my generation, when I'm looking at it, I'm like, yo, like Will Smith, like, you know, Ice Cube, like, you know, LL Cool J's, being able to do that and take that leap, especially when, you know, the platform is, this is what you're supposed to do. You're supposed to be a rapper. This is all you're supposed, but to get out that kind of category and be an anomaly, you know, that is what we, you know, honestly, as a culture, that's what we need. You know what I mean? Like, more people like that. So, yeah.
And I I never was afraid to go and try other things, but I also knew who I was at the time. Right? You have to have a very firm sense of who you are and what you're willing to do. You can't be doing everything. Right? I said no more than I said yes. Right? I said no more than I said yes, simply because I know where I want to be. You don't know how many roles are in Hollywood start with thug number one, or hoodlum number one, or gangster number two. You know what I'm saying? I get them motherfuckers all day. I could be on every hood movie that you have seen for the last 20 years. I definitely could have been in that. But the reason that it's not is because that's too much of what I already understand and what I've my persona in hip hop. So I'll go for things in acting that take me away from those roles. You know what I'm saying? Playing an FBI agent, playing a fucking football coach, playing a, you know what I'm saying, like a sergeant, like a Marine sergeant. These are things that I'm gravitated to because it takes me, it gives me something to strive for, gives me something that is difficult, and to just push me back into the hip hop world. You know what I'm saying? I stand firmly and I beat other actors out for jobs that I've got. You know what I'm saying? Because I take my craft seriously. And you have to do that. It goes back to moving that pile of rocks. If you don't take this shit serious, I'm gonna make you take it serious. You know what I'm saying? You don't have any other options, Alvin. That's my government name. You know what I'm saying? Like, you don't have any other options. You have, if you're gonna commit to something, you must commit. You know?
Wow, that's a yeah. So thinking about that, and moving even into this part where I really want to talk about this, but like the hero's odyssey, right? It's a term that a lot of great masters and great artists, like you think about like Frank Sinatra, he was hot. Like a lot of things happened for him, like when he was 20, and then there was this time where he kind of like had a time of hiatus. Then he came back at 40 years old and just started murking everybody. Mm-hmm. And then you think about like, I mean, there's several different stories. I watch a lot of different documentaries, but researching everything and going through this time, there's a time of reflection for you in a certain period of time, and I want to talk about that because I think it's very inspiring, to be honest with you. Digging, like learning about some of the stuff that you did with Dre. I'm like, okay, cool, but like also getting into this other part where it's like, all these, like your mind and everything that goes with that, I'm just very like, impressed by, and, like, I want you to just talk about, the time in between. So like, there's a time where you had some time of reflection and, what was that like? And like, what did you pull out of that time of just reflection?
Well, you mean reflection being code word for depression?
Yeah, I mean, if you want to, I mean, yeah,
because it ain't always been all good.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying. At the height of your career, you expect everything to be working a certain way, right? You expect everything to, when you get to a certain point where the world knows your name, you expect all your ducks to be in a row. Mine were not, right? So at one point, at the height of my career, what happens behind the scenes, I've never been one to bring what goes on behind the scenes to the forefront. I don't want to fuck up what your vision is of me, what your vision is of my success. It's not up to me to taint that, because everybody's comprehension isn't up to where they can fully understand what's happening. All they want to see is that their favorite MC, rapper, actor, whatever the fuck I'm doing at the time, to be doing that shit good. And I don't want to hear about all the fucking bitching and moaning about the fuck's gonna. I can't stand artists like that. They didn't come here to do that. But now it's different because people want to know that shit. People want to know all that shit. They want to know what the good, bad, ugly. But at the time, this was a really tough time for me because I was at the top of my career. Everybody knew my name, and I had a $2 million tax debt, and I had business managers that had fucked me, and and things that were not going well, and this happened, and you're trying to do all this at the same time uphold this image, and this is where it gets dangerous, because when you don't stop to fix the problem, and you just put a Band-Aid over a bullet hole, you're gonna die. You're gonna bleed to death, right? And that's just a metaphor for listen, dude, the game is gonna be there. Make sure you're okay. You know what I'm saying? Mental health, all of that stuff is like the topics that we're just now starting to talk about. But I have no qualms about this. I have no shame in telling the story. But you know, I went through like a 5-6 year depression because of that. TMZ, all these other platforms, like it just felt like the world was laughing at me. You know what I'm saying? It was like, this nigga, he ain't shit. You know what I'm saying? Look, this nigga broke. This nigga fucked up. This nigga. And I listened to that like a dumbass. I listened to it. So it put me on this hamster wheel of depression. And so I was sitting there because I wasn't living up to the image. I felt I wasn't living up to the image, and that crushed me, which was totally backwards. I spent 5 years sitting on the couch, literally sitting on the couch, like not even much bigger than this, in a robe, drinking bottles of vodka every day. Just every day. And it wasn't until I was like, you know what? I have to stop this because I'm going to sit here and I'm killing myself because of people who don't give a fuck about me anyway. But the people that do give a fuck about me are disheartened and they're brokenhearted seeing me do this to myself. So let me stop this, first of all, and pull some shit, pull the strength from within because nobody's coming to tell me to stop doing anything, right? So I got up and I started, with a project. Jay O'Flaherty called me and he was like, "Hey, X, I need some help." I was like, "Nigga, so do I." Yeah, fuck, bro. Like, I need some help too. I got nothing going on. I'm sick of everybody. Fuck everybody. Fuck this music shit. Fuck all this shit. Fuck everybody. I was just fucking everybody. Fuck all you guys. And so he was like, "I need some help." So I've had this studio right here on the corner for, I took it from Cypress Hill when they moved down to downtown LA. So he came to the studio and we started working on this project. And it was called, his real name is James Savage. So we ended up calling his project James Savage. So I had never produced for anybody before, only myself. So when I started producing for J.O., I started getting my feedback. And it was just like me creating, that just being in that creative process reminded me of what my creative process was. So then I started, feeling better. And I went from just a standstill. And so my creative juices started flowing again. And I was like, fuck, I just gotta start figuring this out. So I called my agents, I called my business manager, and fired everyone.
Wow.
I fired everybody. And I called Stephen Greener. Stephen Greener was a friend of mine from back in the day. He was like a film agent, and at the time he was working. And I called and I said, "Hey, you still want to work with me?" He's like, "Yeah, bro. Like, what are you doing?" I just fired everybody. "Oh, well, what'd you do that for?" I was like, "Listen, I'm just starting fresh." He said, "Well, you gotta start over. You gotta fucking get up. You gotta fucking get your ass in the gym. You gotta shake some hands, kiss some babies, go in these offices. You gotta do it over." No problem. While I'm doing that, I also working on Jail's album, and I also was like, "Yo, I'm gonna start a cannabis company." So I started a company called Brass Knuckles. Brass Knuckles turned out in 3 years to be the biggest vape company on the planet. Like, this is a lesson for you that you are only limited by your fear. You're only limited by what you are scared of, what you feel like you can't get from under. It's a solution for everything. It may be uncomfortable. It may be something that is hard to do, and may have to be consistent. And it may not happen in one day, 1 week, 1 year, but if you stay at it, it's going to happen. Most people don't know how to persevere like that, and that's the gift. When people quit, they quit on themselves. But for me, I knew that was the lesson. I quit for 5 years. And I quit on myself, I quit on my family, I quit on my friends, I quit on my homies. But most of all, I quit on myself. And I'll never do that again. And that's something that, like, bro, you can sit down for a second, but don't stop moving. You know what I'm saying? Like, keep moving forward. It may suck today, but on the other, what a difference a day makes.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Wow, yeah. I mean, let's talk about Xzibit, the business tycoon. So, I mean, we're in that space right now, and honestly, looking at like the different moves. So, like with cannabis, I can imagine that at that time you probably, tell us, like, did you feel like cannabis was gonna pop off, or did you feel like, oh, this is something I'm really passionate about?
Oh yeah. I mean, we was getting arrested for the shit.
Yeah.
Tour buses, cops coming on the bus. I like, you motherfucking right, I'm in the cannabis business. Nigga, I was here before it was legal. So what makes you think I'm not gonna be in it?
Yeah.
So you got to look at the guys that I'm around and the guys that I've seen come before me. 50 Cent, the mega superstar. But he still was able to go away from music and create something else. You're not making money until you make money while you're not working. You know what I'm saying?
Say that one more time. That was.
You're not making money till you're making money when you're not working.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So, though I had to create those different revenue streams, I've never been a radio guy. My songs have been popular through culture, but my songs have not been banging like top 40. You know what I'm saying? Like, I've never been that guy. My presence and my world is on live performances. I will burn your ass down on the stage, burn you down. And my other thing is just the gruff and the rough, content of the music. I thrive in that. That's where I live. That's where my strong suits are. I don't want to, make my records to be something I'm not. Right? So now that I know this and I have to go back and, fight all these fights and put out all these fires to get the revenue that was supposed to come from these records, no, I'll get back to that. So I'll come back for that. But right now, I'm going to create these other revenue streams so I can make music because I want to make music, not because I have to make music or I have to go on tour or else I don't have any money. Fuck that hamster wheel. You know what I'm saying? I have to do music because I want to do music. There's nothing wrong with having a job until your music cracks. Stop. Everybody wants to be Jay-Z, but don't nobody understand what it took to be Jay-Z. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Like, you ain't really willing to take them chances or work that hard, so why the fuck are you aiming for that kind of spot? You know what I'm saying? You got to be in your spot. Create your magic. Nobody wins the game the same way. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So that's where it comes from.
So fast forward to now, you got Napalm, right? And, as far as Napalm and also working on projects with the serial killers, and also coming out with a new album, Kingmaker, right? And so tell us about, like, where you are, like, all of that, right? So when I talk about the Hero's Odyssey, it's like Luke Skywalker at the beginning, right? It's like...
Two Live Crew or Star Wars?
Star Wars.
Okay, got it.
So...
Because they're both heroes in my book. I'm
going to get kind of nerdy, Luke Skywalker starts off, where, he meets Obi-Wan Kenobi. This is a mentor that just, shows up and it's like, hey, Luke, like, you got a big prophecy. Something big is happening for you, right? And Luke's like, nah, I'm not interested. Obi-Wan Kenobi disappears. Then Luke Skywalker's planet blows up and he gets pissed. And there's a time of desolation. There's a time of reflection and understanding. And he's like, yo, I need to go avenge my family and avenge my planet. And within that time period, that's when, Obi-Wan Kenobi shows up again. And now he's open to the mentorship. He's open to the knowledge. And then, as we can see, Luke Skywalker goes off to beat Darth Vader. You know what I mean? And so for you, like, researching your story, I'm like, man, like, when I first moved here to this studio, unbeknownst to you, it was one of those things that when I got here, I went from one studio where there was just music playing all the time to, I was like, okay, I'm going to solitude, I felt. You know what I mean? I didn't even know you were, like, next door. And every time I would come, I would hear your music, and I'd be like, yo, like, this is the energy that is, I just felt like this power. Like, I still feel that every day. When I come out there, I'd be like, oh, X is working, I'm working. It's just, no, seriously. And it's that energy that it's like, man, I know, like, it's like, with Napalm and everything else that's going on in your life, fast forwarding to now, it's like you have so much knowledge and so much education that it's one of those things that I wanted to make sure that we had, all the upcoming songwriters and artists
Awesome.
and stuff to hear that. And so looking back, like right now, like what can we expect from X like in the future as far as like what you're looking to grow? I mean, I know you have
Well, let me start this by saying the most valuable asset that we all have, and the only thing that is limited, that is the most valuable thing we have, is time. The material things come and go. Time does not. It is the one thing that runs completely out, and when you are done, you don't get to recharge it. You don't get more. You can't buy more. You can't do anything. When your time is done, your time is done. So don't waste time. You know what I'm saying? What I'm going to do with my time is I just turned 47, right? I've accomplished a lot. I'm very thankful for that. I'm thankful for everything I've done in entertainment. But now I'm really focused on my time and how I spend it. So now I've always made 3 to 5 year plans. Even when I was a kid, I do everything with a 5 year plan. And I know I'm on track when I hit certain goals. I write everything down on a piece of paper. I can't fucking stand smartphones. You know what I'm saying? I don't do anything without writing it on a piece of paper. So when you write your my 5 year plan now going forward is to put out Kingmaker. I believe this is going to be my last album. I believe this, as far as full length albums for Xzibit, right? I still will produce. I still will write. I still will put out, features here and there. When they call all the Rat Pack and all of us, the crew together to do a fucking thing, you know what I'm saying? Or call us to do a show. I'm showing up for that shit, you know? But I'm working really hard on this record because I finally know what I want to say. You know what I'm saying? And when I say that, it's like, music has changed. My audience that, was there in 2000 have grown up, had kids of their own. Their kids are now grown, you know what I'm saying, or halfway grown. So I have to speak from a place of power, and I have to speak from experience. I can't, the gun-toting, smacking niggas up and all that other shit, those are fun records to make, you know what I'm saying? But the purpose of the music that I make now has to be to a higher source, right? So that's what my album's gonna be like. That's within my 5 year plan. I'd like to, really continue to employ the people I employ for Napalm. That's gonna turn out to be something really well in 3 to 5 years. And really set my family up for generational wealth, not just shit that I can go buy a car and some jewelry with. You know what I'm saying? Like I'm setting up for generational wealth, right? And then the last part of that is like I've really beat the shit out of myself getting to this point. So I'd like to kind of focus on my health. You know what I'm saying? Like really just spend time just like I don't give a fuck. Like now I see why Russell Simmons does yoga all the fucking time. You know what I'm saying? Like bro, we didn't like I drank whole Hennessy fifths for umpteen years. Like my liver must look like a California raisin. You know what I'm saying? Like with the hands and everything, just like my like serious. Like so those are the things that I'm focused on in the next chapter. Because when I turn 50, I want to make a real choice. I'm gonna sit down with my loved ones and we're gonna fit because I'm gonna again work because I want to, not because I have to. Right? I think all of my people deserve that. I think I've given 25 years of my soul, heart, mind, body, and soul to you all. You know what I'm saying? And it's done wonders for my life, and everyone around me. It's put my kids through school. It's giving me an opportunity to see the world. But at this point in time, I'm no good to you all unless I'm good to myself at some point.
Wow.
Right?
Let's go.
So I'm going to focus on those things. I'm going to get it done. I'm going to set, my circle is very small, but my intentions and my vision for that circle is going to be the best thing that's ever happened to them and me. For me, it's going to be the best thing that happens because the last thing that I've done that I need to have done in my career is give someone a position of power. That's why my album's called Kingmaker. It's the missing link. It's me passing the torch to people, not only as a businessman, but as an artist, as a father. It's like giving them the power to like, you guys got this from here. You know what I'm saying? So here's my instructions. Here's the manual. Here's the good, the bad, the ugly of it. Here it is, Kingmaker. Wow. Now do with it what you will, right?
Wow.
Yeah.
Mic drop right there. Let's give it up for Xzibit right now. Do you have a few minutes just for some questions?
Absolutely.
Yeah. All right. So we have enough for a few questions. So if you do have a question, just please raise your hand so we can do this in a good order. Go ahead.
Okay. Thank you for being here. I think it's really dope to have you on our.
That's my wife, by the way.
Hi. My wifey's back there.
Oh, nice. Let's go. Let's give it up for the wifeys. Let's go.
For things that are applicable in life in general. But the question I have is so when you first started being in the studio with these other legends as well, like Dre and Snoop, did you ever feel like imposter syndrome or like this feeling that you weren't supposed to be in the space that your God-given talent had got you into?
Never. Never. You don't get to the Super Bowl by fucking playing hockey. You know what I'm saying? You played to get there. So, the allure and the shininess of fame can distract you completely, right? We've seen people go up and down and out of here. Nobody even gives a fuck. You can't get caught by the lights. You know what I'm saying? Football players, that was a good analogy. Football players put the black shit under their eyes because they could lose the ball in the lights, right? So I never was caught up in the, oh my God, oh, you know what I'm saying? Like, I was never like that. I was really just like, okay, it's game time. Some people get to the top and cruise. I got to the top and sprinted. You know what I'm saying? Because I was trying to get as far away from the place I started and get as furthest I could. You know what I'm saying? They I don't know if you heard this phrase before that, but they say shoot for the stars. Even if you don't get there, you're still amongst them, right? Fuck that. You know what I'm saying? Get to the fucking stars. You know what I'm saying? Get up and go. If you're going that far, you might as well go all the way. So that's how I felt. You know what I'm saying? Like I never felt like I made it. I still don't feel like I made it. If that's weird, you know what I'm saying? Like people still like, oh man, you a legend, nigga. Am I? Nigga, like I still feel like I got some shit to do. Stop trying to bury me early, nigga. You know what I'm saying? Trying to bury me, nigga. I grew up to you, nigga. You my age, nigga. What you talking about? What the fuck are you talking about? So no, I've never felt like. Oh my God, I don't belong here. Nope. I was like, all right, niggas, let's go. You know what I'm saying? I was more, what really was more endearing to me was seeing Dr. Dre see me in a light where he felt like I could compliment what he was doing. Because I think so highly of what he does, right? That's my brother. That's my hero. You know what I'm saying? Like Cap, like we call him Cap. You know what I'm saying? Cap is the captain of the ship. Like, if he could see me as something that because he discovered Snoop. Warren brought Snoop to Dre, and he made him who he was, and then Snoop transcended and became the icon he is. So for him to see that potential in me was phenomenal. And that's what I took to heart. I was more endeared to that part of it than I was like, oh man, we about to be on TV. You know what I'm saying? Like this was dope to be seen in that light.
One more question. Can you tell me what was the line that Dre made you do for 3 hours? Do you remember what?
No, you think I will remember? Dude, it's not just that one line. I was just giving you he don't just did it. He didn't just do it to me. Yeah, and you know when it's happening because everybody comes. It's like niggas get popcorn and come in to see what. Like, oh, he's doing it again. He's doing it again. Niggas come in there and just like, okay, he gonna crack. And as soon as we get to the last part of this hour, that nigga gonna be cracked. And we've seen some niggas get frustrated. And be like, nigga, I did it. Oh, really? And then he'd be like, all right, guys, I'm going home. Session over. Hey, is he coming back? Is he coming? No, nigga. And nope. Then we just in there playing beats, smoking weed. Like, nigga, you done. You done, nigga. You might as well kick it. You know what I'm saying? Like, hey, some more beers in there, nigga. Like, you're done.
Oh, damn.
Yeah.
All right, another question. Go ahead.
So, being one of the OG like West Coast rappers, and seeing how rap and music has evolved, and you being a witness to all that, is there anyone now that like catches your attention or anything like that, or where do you see rap going, and what's your opinion on it? And is there anyone that stands out?
Well, I mean, to be honest, West Coast doesn't have a sound anymore. It used to have a distinct sound, a feel, because feels are different than sounds now. Now it seems like everything has been kind of mashed together from the social media aspect. What's happening in the South is happening in New York, is happening in the West. It's happening around the world. You know what I'm saying? Everyone's using the same tick, 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 tick. You know what I'm saying? Everybody's using the same cadence. It's become like techno music. Now, techno, if you're not into techno, it sounds like one long song. That's what hip hop has turned to, in my opinion, has turned into. Now, the characters may change. The turnover rate in hip hop is so fast now. Like, these guys are big as fuck for a very short amount of time, and then they out of here. I call them microwave rappers. You know what I'm saying? The motherfuckers heat up quick and gone in the motherfucker. You know what I'm saying? Like, niggas they heat up quick, and then they be out. You know what I'm saying? But the attention span of the audience is different. Now check this out. All of this kind of works together, right? So you have the standouts. You have Kendrick Lamar. You have, like all these other cats that are coming out. Roddy Ricch. You have all these new guys that are coming. You know what I'm saying? It's like drinking from a water hose. How many artists come out so frequently, right? But the trick to all of this shit is longevity. You know what I'm saying? Like, I feel sorry for you guys in 10 years to be like, yo, the best of 2020. You're going to be like, who? You know what I'm saying? Like, who is them niggas? I don't even remember this song. You know what I'm saying? Like you guys have bits and pieces of greatness. You know what I'm saying? But longevity is what you want to strive for, right? And hopefully that balances out really soon. And I pray for the West Coast that they believe in their sound, and somebody has to stand out and be different than what's going on in status quo, because there's so much talent here. There's so many songwriters and singers and just musicians that are really conforming to this sound instead of a feel. Go with your feel. So what if it's not that? You know what I'm saying? So what if it's not that? Go with your feel, because your magic is going to relate to someone in your listeners in a way that is going to be unique to you, and you'd be surprised. When I did Paparazzi and I put that orchestra on the beach, nobody was doing that shit. And it was unique. Nobody else sounded like that, but what started is still going to this day. So yeah, all these people, everybody wants you. Let me back that up a little bit. You have to define what success is to you. And when you define that for yourself, nobody else can fuck with your definition. Some people's success is, look, I want to buy a house for my mama. I want to have a car that I've never had before, and I want a bank account with a certain amount of money in it. Some people's success is just like, I want people just to hear me and love my music, and the money's gonna come. Like, you define what that is for you, and never stray away from it, and be unapologetic about it. That's what's the fear is what's keeping people back from doing that. People want to be like, look, I'm popular, I'm streaming, everybody loves me, I'm rich. You know what I'm saying? It doesn't work that way. So the West Coast needs to go back to what it does and believe in itself. Now, here's one thing that maybe you guys can do. Get everybody in the West Coast, the music buying public, the people that really love, because it's so easy to do it now. Start the correlation, start the conversation. Listen, we ain't gonna have our own shit until we support our own shit. So everybody, look, man, start small. Like, hey guys, we got 1,000 people in this database. Whenever one of us drop a record in this thing, everybody has to go buy it. Or not the single motherfucker, buy the little $6.99 or $9.99, spend that amongst ourselves. You start your own commerce. Then it grows to 2,000 people. Then it grows to 5,000 people. Then it grows to, you guys can feed each other. You know what I'm saying? When nobody else would. Stop trying to feed the world, because nobody can do that. You know what I'm saying? Even the niggas trying to feed the world. You have to start small and grow big. Scale. You know what I'm saying? But the support has to, back in the, like now, the West Coast artists that you talking about, the OGs, like we stamped. You know what I'm saying? Like, we can still do concerts without putting a record out. We still get people to come to the shows. Why? Because there's a support system that's there that we supported, they supported us, right? So we'll always be there for them. You guys had an opportunity to do the same thing. You know what I'm saying? Don't start with the world, just start with the West, and the world's gonna catch on.
Wow, that's big right there. Take note there.